Hey everybody, hope this finds you doing well. This is Networkchain. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Bitcoin, as you can see, is currently trading still in that $75,000 to $80,000 range. We're looking to see if it's able to get past $80,000 and then close above $80,000 for the weekly candle to have any indication or any possibility of us potentially taking another leg up. So currently we are still in a downward trend. We're still in a bear market. So a lot of people are starting to get a little bit excited. You're starting to see more positive news stories about the potential of Bitcoin getting back to 100,000. But we have to make sure that we slow our roll a little bit and understand where we are and what it's going to take to get back to six figures. Now, it could potentially take several months. It could maybe even take another year before we get back to $100,000. Obviously, we do not know what the future holds, but if we go according to the 4-year cycle, most likely we could see the bottom sometime between now and the end of the year. We may have already seen the bottom, but we could definitely see some choppiness for a while. But usually, at least if we go by the 4-year cycle over the last several cycles, usually from the all-time high to the next leg going into the next bull market, it usually is about a year or so. So it's only been about 6 months since last October when we hit those all-time highs. So we'll definitely obviously keep you posted. We know you'll continue to stay posted yourselves if you're interested in Bitcoin and the overall cryptocurrency market. So we'll continue to keep an eye out on what's going on with Bitcoin. In the meantime, we are still continuing to see what is happening in the macroeconomic environment when it comes to not only Bitcoin, but also digital assets in general and how it's being viewed around the world. And when we look at the United States, which is the largest economy in the world, we see the transcript here of the confirmation hearing for Kevin Warsh, who is the nominee for the Federal Reserve Chair position that is opening up this year. And he is being interviewed by a lot of different senators. And one of the questions was from one of the senators who is known to be a Bitcoin proponent. And Kevin Warsh was asked, do you believe digital assets should be incorporated into our financial industry so Americans have new investment opportunities and consumer protections? And Kevin Warsh responds by saying, Senator, digital assets are already a part of the fabric of our financial services industry in the United States. Yes. So this is just another indication of the way that the U.S. government could be looking at Bitcoin, looking at digital assets. We've already talked about in the past about how there's another legislation bill that is on the table called the Clarity Act that will provide a little bit more of a framework with regards to how digital assets will be classified, how they can be transacted, and some rules and regulations with regards to investing in these type of products. So we already know that they're embracing digital assets, and now it's just a matter of time before we start to see even more clarity and legislation and regulation that's going to be pumped out for people to have a further understanding of the opportunities that are available to them, particularly when it comes to digital assets and what that future could potentially hold around the world, not only in the United States, but also being able to transact with these type of assets around the world. Of course, we see some of the larger players continuing to accumulate and add. Bitcoin Strategy, the largest corporate holder, they have now surpassed IBIT, which is BlackRock's ETF, and BlackRock holds Bitcoin on behalf of its investors. A lot of institutional investment goes into these Bitcoin ETFs. They have over 800,000 Bitcoin now. Strategy has surpassed them now, holding 815,000 Bitcoin, and they do not seem to be slowing down. It pretty much seems inevitable that they will be heading towards 1 million. So of course we'll continue to keep track of that, but we just find that it's very interesting that this company continues to dollar cost average into Bitcoin since they started their strategy in 2020, and they have now accumulated over 800,000 Bitcoin, which is pretty amazing. And you can see here, just in 9 months through their perpetual preferred product, which we have discussed in previous videos, they were able to raise over $8.5 billion worth of Bitcoin in 9 months, 5.5 times faster than they did the first 8.4 billion into Bitcoin. So it just goes to show that they are now basically accelerating the rate in which they are accumulating Bitcoin, and they are accumulating as quickly as possible, particularly now that we're in the bear market. They're trying to get as much quote unquote cheap Bitcoin as they can. And one thing that we also consider another just indicator of things to come is when you look at this top 10 Bitcoin holdings list, you can see that the top 10 holders of Bitcoin includes the first and the fourth largest asset managers in the world, and that would be BlackRock and Fidelity with their ETFs. And you can see as of earlier this past week, BlackRock had about 809,000, Fidelity had around 455,000. And then you look at 3 of the top 6 economies in the world, the United States, China, and the UK. They all have Bitcoin on the balance sheet. Most of them have received those Bitcoin via seizures and other means, but they are not selling. You can see that they're holding on to, in the United States case, over hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin. They currently hold over 300,000. China has over 190,000, and you can see the UK has over 60,000. And Strategy has now jumped over BlackRock, and they are now the third largest holder. Coinbase, the second largest holder as an institution, and they are a cryptocurrency exchange. So of course, people are going to have Bitcoin on their exchange for trading, and then they have their own stash as well, but they're holding these Bitcoin on behalf of others as a custodian. Same thing with BlackRock and Fidelity. And then of course, Satoshi Nakamoto has the most with over 1 million Bitcoin, and we shall see if Strategy actually does get to a point where they surpass Nakamoto. So make sure to stay posted with us on Networkchain, at Networkchain, not only on X as well as IG, and we are looking to start a new challenge called the $40 a month challenge. So basically, if you're able to, find $10 per week to put into Bitcoin, just like a savings account, we are going to go and move forward with dollar cost averaging. We're going to do it the first or around the first of every month. We're going to put in $40 into Bitcoin and just let it do what it does. And over time, we'll continue to track and we'll keep you posted on how well it does. We're going to look at it basically like a savings account. So that's one less libation for the week. That's one less Chipotle run for the week. We believe that this is something that's feasible for a lot of us out here to be able to save $10 a week, equating to approximately $40 a month into Bitcoin. And we're going to see, and this is actually a pretty good time considering that we are in a bear market. So we're going to see what that looks like over time, and we plan to be here for a while. So continue to stick with us here at Networkchain, and you can follow along to see what happens with that $40 a month challenge. And of course, just make sure you're very careful on how you go about getting your Bitcoin. Make sure you do your research. Tennessee becomes the second state to outlaw Bitcoin crypto ATMs. There's been a lot of scams. There's a lot, obviously, that happens and occurs on the internet, but also it happens when it comes to these crypto ATMs. And also the fees are absolutely ridiculous. If you have no idea what you're doing and you're putting cash into these ATMs, you have no idea how much money you're actually paying for a particular amount of Bitcoin that you're trying to buy. And so you just want to make sure that you have a better understanding of what you're buying, where you're buying it from, and exactly what you're getting. So we want to make sure that we take all secure practices when it comes to purchasing Bitcoin. So just let this be just a friendly reminder to make sure you understand what you're doing when it comes to investing into Bitcoin. So as usual, we really appreciate you checking us out here at Networkchain. We'll continue to keep you posted regularly on X as well as on Instagram, and of course here right on YouTube. We thank you so much for watching. We look forward to linking up with you soon on the Networkchain. In the meantime, take care. Bye-bye.